There are the coaches waiting to take you on tour.
This is an overview of 3 excursions from the 6 included excursions on one SAGA cruise.
In Malta, I told you about these major floods this year. Needs very little water, and it can take the wind and the rain and the wind and the sun. Can you see that? And now most probably you can understand why we call it the arch.
The first excursion is in Malta, and having seen the island many times, we decided to take the Panoramic coach tour.
Dating back to 3,600, 3,800 before Christ.
Now, most panoramic excursions on all cruise liners means a coach trip, and it normally means it's better for those with limited mobility. On this particular trip, there was only one photo stop.
The awning, just outside of the awning, you can see some of the magnets. Starting 4,100 before Christ, and coming to a very sudden, to a very abrupt end towards the peak in 2000.
It was a very, very easy excursion for those with limited or no mobility.
That's exactly why the situation then earned us the George Cross, King George. Now to our left. Francis is going to try to slow down a bit, just in case you would like to take a photo of Medina.
The second excursion we'll show you was actually a coach trip plus a museum. The third one is different because it was a trip to Troy, and it was announced as being more difficult. In fact, everybody who booked it was sent a letter to explain it was a more difficult excursion.
We're on a panoramic tour. This is the first time we've got off the coach actually to take photos. Behind me is St Paul's Island. It has a statue of St Paul on it, and it's meant to mark the exact spot where St Paul was shipwrecked off Malta.
Of the 6 free excursions we could have taken on our SAGA cruise, we only took 3. The free or included excursions are often of the panoramic type. You might find, if you want the more adventurous excursions, that they are not the included ones, and you will have to pay for them.
This is the Archaeological Museum right by Ephesus. Inside the museum there are ramps everywhere, so it's quite easily negotiable for people with chairs or scooters. It was a great honour for the Roman sculptors to be chosen to put their statues on the side of the road in Ephesus, and these are some of the examples.
The name Ephesus is possibly a Romanized version of a Hittite word. It was a huge trading city on the coast, with underground water systems piping fresh water from at least 3 sources.
These statues were in fountains in Ephesus, and this is Androcles and his dog, this one here. You can't see his face, unfortunately, his head's taken off. Now, this frieze was saved from a fire. This is a statue of Artemis from the 1st century. This is a model of the Temple of Artemis. It was one of the 7 wonders of the world. It was made of marble.
So let's talk about the fire of the 2nd phase temple. It's credited to a nutcase called Herostratus. But there is another theory that the administrators of the temple wanted the new temple to be built on that sacred plot, not elsewhere, so they deliberately set fire to it.
We've just seen the model in the museum, and this is the remains of the Temple of Artemis. This is a great map of the excavation layers of Troy, and it looks like there are at least 9 layers. We've arrived at Troy. It's about 5 minutes away from the museum in the coach. The important positioning of the land of Troy meant that it was occupied for over 3,000 years. So there was Troy 1, Troy 2, right up to Troy 9, and they're all standing on top of each other. No one knows what they were actually called, but archaeologists have labelled them that. You can imagine this was the harbour wall, and the ships were there that made Troy such a wealthy nation, but also destroyed Troy because the mud brought mosquitoes, and the mosquitoes killed them with the malaria. In the early excavations, they basically cut a trench through the hill, and they were looking for gold and stones, and what they did was destroyed what was here. These are the legendary walls from Troy 6, and if Helen did exist, she would have existed within these walls at that time. So the Trojans were clever. They built 2 gates. The first one was down there, and the second one was round the corner. So when the Romans came with a battering ram, they burst through the first gate, but then they couldn't get to the second gate because it was round the corner. So while they were faffing about, they killed them. The Temple of Athena was built on top of the palace, but unfortunately that was destroyed in the earthquake. It was built of marble, but there is a ceiling stone that they found that we can show you. This Odeon in Troy 9 was built on top of the fortification walls of Troy 3, and the statue that we saw of Hadrian in the museum they found just here. And this side of the footbridge are the remains of the Roman baths. So after they'd been in the baths, they could go across to the Odeon, which was for VIPs only. Just arrived at the Troy Museum. Let's take a look. There's a cafe and a shop on the ground floor, and very importantly, nice clean restrooms. The museum is divided into 4 levels. Let's go up the ramp. The museum has a lift and the ramp is easy. This sarcophagus is 400 BC. It's important because it's the first time they'd used colours in the hunting scene, and it was reckoned that a 25-year-old man's body was found inside. Although legend has it that the Trojan War was about Helen and love, it was actually about wealth, power and trade routes. In 1882, Troy was investigated and restored. By the nature of the artefacts they find, they can actually tell what people ate. This level is from the Roman period of Troy, and this is Hadrian, a very important Roman emperor. If you've come all this way, don't miss the great view from the roof. Remember the old gag, how many people can you fit in a Mini? Well, how many people do you think you could fit in there? This was in the film starring Brad Pitt and Eric Bana called Troy. Just guessing, but we reckon that front section dropped down and they all ran out. So if you don't actually make it to Troy, the next best thing is to come and visit the Trojan horse and this model. I'm on the beautiful SAGA ship, the Spirit of Adventure. It's the newest and youngest ship I've been on. It's only a couple of years old. I'm standing on the observation deck, deck 14. Let's take a look around. SAGA is an adult ship, so you must be 50 or over to book a holiday. It would be a really cool idea if they set matches up between the ships, the Discovery and the Adventure. Perhaps that may be something for the future.